Hi guys, this is Relic. One of my new hobbies is learning the Arduino multiprocessor and programming environment. And I might start a series of periodic do-it-yourself videos, little tutorials to help you along. I just want to show you some things that I wish I had somebody sitting next to me telling me when I got started, which has only been about a week ago, but I've had a background in data acquisition microprocessors for about 20 years. I bought the Mega 2650 just because I plan on doing a lot with this little board, and the Uno just doesn't have enough inputs and outputs, analogs and digitals and things like that. So I'm just going to go over some of the basics that I've found that I've needed. First of all, here's what I've purchased. SaneSmart 3.2 display, TFT with touchscreen. It's also got an SD card reader on the back. The Mega Shield, and the Arduino itself. Right now I've just got a little program running to fade a LED in and out. Just connects via your USB cable for power. Now when you start doing some of the tutorials, you're going to find that you're going to need a lot of odds and ends parts, which I'll get into in a second. Pots, transistors, resistors, capacitors, diodes, things of that nature, speakers, motors, switches, push buttons, any kind of little components you could think of, you will end up using in some of these projects. And you could spend a lot of money nickel and diming yourself on eBay, which, to be honest, I have done up until now. But I'm starting to find out, bless you kitty, that there's a lot of stuff around the house that I could use. But first of all, let me show you some of the basics that you will need. Once you get your board, you will need the Arduino software environment. For the basics, this is all you really need. I'm running 1.0.1, and you can get that off of Arduino's homepage, and I'll provide the links to everything that I show you here in the description box. Another program you'll need when you get into some of the other tutorials, Jeremy Blum of Element 14 has some superb tutorials. It has been a major help to me. But I just found out that I am now needing the processing platform, which operates a lot like, it's very familiar, very similar to the Arduino environment. They look almost identical. I'll bring them side by side. But it uses different libraries, slightly different syntax. Another thing you're going to need is, as I mentioned before, parts. One thing I've gone ahead and done is I don't always want to rely on the USB for power, especially if I have the board doing something and I want to make it mobile. So you can either pick up at Radio Shack or on eBay, you can pick up a 9-volt power supply jack, or in my case I just used a universal power supply. One of these ends fit nicely. Set it to 9 volts with ground on the sleeve, positive on the pin. So for instance, I've got this little bit of code running. I could disconnect this and just hook it up to either a battery or my universal power supply. Another thing that comes up a lot, speakers, motors, transistors, switches, things of that nature. I've been keeping a little box full of parts, and it's slowly growing. Kind of hard to film and do this with one hand. Anyway, what do I have in here? Junk to most people, treasure trove to me. LEDs. There's a little 5-volt motor. I've got many motors. I keep old boards around. Here's a simple speaker from a modem. Actually, it came off of this modem. An RCA cable, video cable, doesn't matter what color, but I'll show you what you can do with this in just a second. Your common resistors like 1K, 10K, 1K potentiometers, 10K potentiometers, your 100, 200 ohm resistors, and your caps, 1 microfarad, 0.1 microfarad, 10 microfarad, both polarized and not. I just ripped this speaker out of another device today, and an LCD out of an old telephone. Going back to the VGA cable, I know I'm kind of first of all, I know I'm covering a lot, but this is just little odds and ends things that I've helped that I find that have helped me out. Let's see. Here we go. I found this very handy circuit. There's a TV library you can download, and you can build this circuit. You just cut the end off of a RCA cable. Ground goes to ground on the Arduino. Video comes off of your signal pin via a 470 ohm resistor, and the sync signal is also connected to the signal wire, and these get plugged into different pins 9, 11, 13. It depends on the Arduino you have. They have a chart down here, and I've already tried that, and I can write directly to my monitor through the AV port. Another thing I just came across today, it's very handy if you have a wired GPS receiver, the type that plugs into laptops. They can be modified to directly hook up to the TX/RX lines, and then you can do neat things like reading your GPS coordinates and relaying that to a terminal or to an LCD. Another very invaluable tool, and I spend a few hours each day in this, is Google Circuit Lab. With this, you've got just about all your primitive components, voltage sources, signal waveform generators, and you can build and test your circuits here, and you can do voltage and current plots over a specified time period at specified resolution in seconds. And you can also do frequency domain simulations to simulate signal processing. So basically you can draw up your circuits here before you breadboard, and you can test your circuits out before you actually go to the trouble of getting the parts together and breadboarding it. Another thing I've been doing lately is salvaging every board that I can find that is of little use to me. This was a old modem, and as I find things I just number them, look them up, just check the package number. You can usually find a data sheet, but just right, found a regulator, high voltage regulator, an op amp, a very common NPN transistor, a 3.3 volt regulator, audio jacks. I could pull these caps off if I needed, resistors, things like that. I think this came from a floppy drive, to be honest. I can get a quad op amp off of that, multiplexer, demultiplexer, and I found a lot of goodies on this board. Another quad op amp at the top, quad D-type flip-flop, 2 of those, a 4-package AND gate, NAND gate, and the list just goes on. What I'm wanting to do over the next day or two is start learning how to use the LCD library. So instead of buying a bunch of parts on eBay, I found a old telephone, and let's just get an idea what kind of parts you can salvage. This was a old Sprint telephone, probably about 10 years old, but the reason I wanted this one is they still have the old 16:2 LCDs. Actually, this one has a microprocessor on board too. I'm getting an LED out of the deal. I'm also getting a keypad out of the deal with a keypad encoder, a speaker, a microphone, several momentary push-button switches. There was to hang up the receiver. Can desolder that, no problem. Selector switches. There's 2 there. Single pole, double throw, and just scores of various caps, both polarized and not. Various transistors. Some used for amplification, some used for switching, NPN, PNPs. I see a lot of Zener diodes on this board. So the point is, there's just a lot of stuff around the house that you would otherwise throw out. I would suggest holding on to it, because you never know when you're going to need these things for your projects. And once I get this LCD off and learn how to use the libraries, I'll share that with you as well. I'm also going to try to salvage this this keyboard right here for a just to make a custom serial digital keypad. I kept all the plastic parts and the keypad itself, so I'm sure that'll come in handy. But when I start doing something useful with all this stuff, I'll put out another video, and as I stated before, I'll put all the links in the description box to some of these links. Have fun prototyping.